This is the first audio that I'm doing on the Course in Miracles, and this will be a brief overview of the Course. So the first question is, what is it? The Course is a path to God. It is one form of the universal curriculum. The Course itself describes your particular path as the form in which the fact that God is not insane appears most sensible and meaningful for you. I always liked that description. So you can't follow a path in which you believe God's insane. So if the Course resonates with you, then these audios may be helpful. It's not an easy course. It's a 1,400-page book, and um, generally new students might find it hard based on the language that's used and the style of writing. So I'm putting these out there in case they're useful. I've been studying the course since 1996, and my teacher was Ken Wapnick. I don't present original thoughts in these audios. The thoughts come from the course, and the course as explained to me by my teacher, Dr. Wapnick. The course opens with these words: nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. So those three lines really don't have much meaning to us. We live in the world and everything can be threatened here. But if we could hear and accept those words, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. If we could accept that, we'd experience the peace of God. The course metaphysics involves the idea that there is no world. The Course states, there is no world. That is the central message the Course was sent to teach. And that is meant literally, that you are not a body in a world, but rather everything is taking place inside your mind. The Course describes the condition we find ourselves in as insanity. We are having a hallucination, a dream, and that is not a new idea. There are ancient texts that talked about the fact that the world is an illusion. But what the Course does is presents a process by which you can wake up from where you seem to be and experience reality. The Course teaches that reality is non-duality. There is oneness. There's not two-ness. There's one thing, all made up of the same substance, and nothing exists that can oppose what that oneness is made of. Otherwise, there wouldn't be oneness. So there's no room for a gap because there's not two different things that would be necessary in order to create a gap. So the Course explains how we ended up in a world experiencing our little selves in bodies, little clay houses, threading our timid way through a world we don't control. There's a lot of descriptions in the Course about what the world seems to be, what we seem to be, what bodies are, what our egos are. And they really paint a stark and horrifying picture using poetic language of what it is we've been experiencing. But the Course doesn't just describe the water we're drowning in as bodies in a world where death is real. It also sets forth a process to move beyond our experience. The description is designed to get us to question our belief system. The Course presents an entirely new thought system, the goal of which is to awaken and experience ourselves differently, to know God, to know the truth. That thought system is basically the opposite of the thought system the world was established by. So everything is happening in the mind, and the kind of chronological way we can talk about what happened to get us here, is to first think of the idea of God, oneness, and truth. And then imagine that into that oneness, Course says, there crept a tiny mad idea of separation. So an idea of separation doesn't have any power to do anything. Only the belief in that idea can seem to produce a result. So when an aspect of God looks upon the tiny mad idea of separation and takes it seriously, then the ego thought system is born. And simultaneously, the thought system of the Holy Spirit. So there's an idea, and you can either reject the idea, which would be looking on it with the Holy Spirit and laughing at it, or accept the idea, which would be joining with the ego thought system and deciding the separation happened. So when we join with the ego thought system and believed that separation had happened, what was set in motion was a battleground in our minds in which we experience individuality, separation from heaven, denial of the truth, which results in the opposite experience of love. If heaven is perfect love, perfect joy, perfect oneness, then accepting the idea of being separate from that is its opposite in every way. It is hatred, it is sin, it is guilt, it is fear. So at that point in our minds, there's terror that turning our back on heaven means an angry God is going to pursue us because we took a part of heaven and left. Now, in truth, that's impossible. The separation can't happen. It could not happen because oneness is the truth. But in the insanity of believing in the idea of separation, we set up a battleground in our mind where we were afraid that God was coming for us. And that terror, we turn to the ego and ask, what do I do? I can't stay here. And the ego says, we're going to project out the idea of separation, and you can hide in that projection. And the phenomenal world is the projected idea of separation, the thought system of sin, guilt, and fear, the fabric of which is hatred. And we find ourselves being born into a world we don't control, we don't seem to control, against our will, seemingly. And we live our little lives, never even suspecting that the world in which we live in, the self we believe is us, the face we look at in the mirror every morning, could be based on a lie. That it's even possible that I am at home in God, believing in exile. And we spend all of our time during the X amount of time we live trying to basically make ourselves more comfortable. But at some point, people begin to realize, I can't be made more comfortable. This isn't right. And there's a persistent feeling that kind of sets us on a search. And some of those searchers find A Course in Miracles. And in it, find the answers they sought and the path to God. So the Course is one form of the universal curriculum. And it is not for everybody. It doesn't resonate with everyone. And my audios are going to, again, be based on Dr. Wapnick's teaching and will focus on exactly what the world seems to be and what we ourselves seem to be in order to look at it without judgment and move past it and go up the ladder where we can remember we have a mind, and if what has a mind can change and we can make a different choice. We don't have to choose the ego thought system. We can choose the Holy Spirit's thought system. So that's a little overview of what the audios are going to cover. I look forward to hearing from you. I'd welcome any comments. If there's a particular topic in the course that you'd like covered, I'd be happy to do an audio on that. And I I would just like to reiterate what the Course says. Salvation is a collaborative venture. Thank you for listening.